All right, welcome back. This was Saturday. We're wrapping up Chainlink here. We got about a few more articles. Let me make this a little louder, actually. All right, welcome back. This was Saturday. We're wrapping up Chainlink here. We got about a few more articles. Let me make this a little louder, actually. Yeah, all right. So I was perusing through Chainlink's website, right? I was just kind of scrolling through, seeing what they got out here. And is my volume really stuck there? God damn, dude. All right. Anyway, what I was noticing is that the case studies that Chainlink has done in the past and that they have featured on their website, there's some pretty big names in there. One of them is Aavegotchi, which is a game made off of Ethereum. It's made by Aave. It's just, kind of like Tamagotchi, but they're trying to bring blockchain gaming to the masses. So, they instituted this game. But there's some other big names on here, right? Chainlink powers the Oracle network associated with the NBA, right? The NFTs that the NBA has, Top Shot, which is an NFT game that allows users to buy and sell trading cards. So just like you'd have trading cards in the real world, the NBA, another one would be So Rare, right, with soccer. But anyway, the NBA has Top Shot, in which they sell virtual moments in games and virtual cards to consumers, and then consumers make a secondary market for it. But you also have things like Trader Joe, which is a very popular, market where a lot of tokens are traded. And so just going through this, you can see that Chainlink is very cemented in DeFi oracles and providing data on chain, and a lot of their material is showing that they have this moat that is, allowing them to. They've situated themselves really well where they are now between blockchains, and they are very good at helping those blockchains communicate and also bringing data on chain that blockchains and apps built on those blockchains are going to be using. One very famous DeFi application that does use Chainlink for their oracles is Polymarket. And if you're not familiar with betting on human likeliness or just betting on random events and the masses showing what's likely to occur, there is a market that's out there where people can bet on these events. And so one of them was the election. And so Polymarket provided liquidity and gambling options based on very impactful events. So in this case, the election. And Polymarket needed a way to get the data of what is real world data showing in terms of what these candidates, Kamala and Trump, and what is their likeliness to become president, but also what are people voting on? What are they betting on? What is the spread of that bet? Are people more likely to vote one way or the other? And so all of this data has to be captured in real time and translated on chain so that this Polymarket application is able to provide not only accurate bets, but a easy website for people to use to place these bets. And Polymarket ended up making a huge impact during that election. I think it was like 30 billion or something. Let's look that up. Here we go. Polymarket election. So this is Polymarket if you haven't seen it, and at the bottom here you'll see all the voting that was going on in even different states, but you could come in here and you could bet on the election. And before the election, it was very, very close. And then during the election, as the days got closer and the election moved on, there was a huge shift in the way people were voting, that this separation started to happen. And if people were going based off of the data they could find, and even vote on what they think people are going to do, or bet on what they think people are going to do, you started to see the separation between the two candidates. And it really opened people's eyes as to the power of not only real-time gambling, but like a sports book, a casino. They're not going to have odds like that. Whereas something like this, where there's no regulation of that, not there's no regulation, there's no intermingling in that process of the gambling. And it wasn't that people could just, bet on this, like people bet on a game, and they think that the impact that Vegas or whoever has an impact on the outcome of that game. But regardless, Polymarket really took on what it meant to be a Web3 company, and allow people to bet on this while also not having to change the way people operate, right? There wasn't a whole lot of downloading going on. It was their user interface is very straightforward. Anyway. So here's one for Link. Okay. Someone commented, will Link be above $27? This is marking on whether, okay, this is not it. But you can see how people, even on Polymarket, are voting consensus on what this guy believes or is asking in 2021. Will Chainlink be above $27? Let's go back. So anyway, with all that being said, we're going to get into the next one today, the 5 levels of cross-chain security. This is probably the last article for Chainlink, unless I find something else. And then we're going to start putting our notes together in our report card for Chainlink. Again, I believe in what they're doing, and I truly believe that there's such a big need for oracles, and that they are the best in the space to be providing that data to these blockchains. But this is in no means investment advice, and I don't, I do have a vested interest in Chainlink, but it's not that we're going to be giving price suggestions out here. It's not that we're trying to, look at this graph. No, we really want to understand what gives these tokens, what gives these companies, if we're doing stocks, like, why are they in business? Why are people using them? Is what they're doing feasible? Does it make sense? And then if all of that shows us a green light, if all of that is like, hey, we're moving forward, then we're going to look at, okay, what is the current price of this asset? Should we buy it? Is it like, then you can start even dabbling with the finance and the investment aspect. But before we get there, we have to understand what we're investing in, right? Like, putting money into an asset, you are now an owner. You're not just gambling. You own that asset. And personally, I don't want to be buying something or anything that I don't know anything about, other than that I'm hoping other people think it's worth something too. But I digress. All right, this one is a bit more technical, but it'll help us understand what Chainlink does from a security standpoint, and how they are not only making sure that the data is not tampered with, that the data is correct, but just the communication of that data and keeping everything secure. Remember, because we're in the open web, and because this isn't like an operating system that one single entity has developed, because it's not just owned by Microsoft, no one can just go in there and fix a mistake. So like if you got hacked, or someone took that money, or whatever, no one can go in there and be like, oh, let's reverse it, let's go catch the bad guy. They can still go catch the bad guy, but we don't know where those assets are going to be. They move near instantaneously on some blockchains, other ones 5 minutes, right? And that's why security and understanding how this all works it's massive. It's very impactful, and it can make or break the difference, not only in your investing portfolio, but making sure that those funds stay where they need to be, and that you don't lose them in in either a boating accident or like just sending it to a wallet on a different chain where it's not compatible. Again, Chainlink would solve that. So billions of dollars in users' funds have been lost to bridge hacks. Okay, let's take a pause there. What are bridge hacks? Bridge hacks are, well, what's a bridge? A bridge is a smart contract that allows a user to deposit tokens on one chain and receive another on a separate chain. A good example would be wrapped Bitcoin. So Bitcoin doesn't exist on Ethereum. Bitcoin is its own token on its own network, the Bitcoin network. But people want to have the value of a Bitcoin or something that looks like Bitcoin on Ethereum, just so that when people are trading or people are holding assets on Ethereum for whatever reason, they want to be like, oh, I also have a Bitcoin, and just have it all on Ethereum. But to do this, you have to submit your Bitcoin to a bridge, to a contract. Hey, I'm going to send my Bitcoin to this contract. So I'm on Bitcoin. I'm on the Bitcoin network right now. I'm sending this Bitcoin while it's on the Bitcoin network to a smart contract. That smart contract needs a way to either talk to another smart contract that's going to mint this equal Bitcoin on Ethereum, or it needs to just be able to communicate with the other chain itself. So it depends. Not only the bridge contract, the bridge contract itself, but it also depends on how many steps in between the two chains are going to take place. So you deposit Bitcoin into this Bitcoin smart contract that's going to act as a bridge. And then you have another contract on Ethereum that then takes this response. Okay, we see that you've deposited one Bitcoin in this smart contract on the Bitcoin network. We're going to look at what wallet it came in at, and we're going to look at what wallet you want it to go to on the Ethereum network, right? They could be two different wallets. They're going to have two separate addresses. And it says, okay, because you sent Bitcoin on the Bitcoin network, we're going to give you an equal amount of W Bitcoin, WBTC on Ethereum. The W stands for wrapped, okay? Wrapped just means that it's put in this box so that it can now operate on this new blockchain. Bitcoin is round, Ethereum is square. And so we just took the circle that is Bitcoin and put it in a square box on Ethereum and said, hey, everyone, look, it's Bitcoin. And so because of this, you can't have the Bitcoin on the Bitcoin network be used, take out of that smart contract while you have this wrapped Bitcoin. That would mean you made money out of thin air. You made one of these Bitcoins out of thin air because one has to be locked up while the other goes out. And so while they're locked up, while they're in these contracts, you can have these hacks occur. You can have people figure out a defect or a bug in the smart contract that's holding these dormant Bitcoin and stealing them. Or they could either put something on the interface that, hey, we're gonna have you think that you're putting in the new wallet address, or think you're doing all these things on your computer, and then once this smart contract gets a big enough deposit, we're gonna pull it out, right? So there's a bunch of different ways these hacks can occur, but the main point from that is that people have lost billions of dollars due to these bridge hacks. Beyond harming individuals, these losses slow industry adoption and undermine Web3's efforts to create a robust on-chain economy where trillions in tokenized assets are seamlessly transacted on a daily basis. Cross-chain exploits can be avoided if the industry moves away from centralized and single network bridges toward a defense-in-depth cross-chain solution featuring multiple layers of decentralization and on-chain risk management. This blog outlines the 5 levels of cross-chain security and showcases how Chainlink CCIP sets a new industry standard in cross-chain communication, capable of supporting a secure and scalable cross-chain economy for both DeFi and traditional finance. Again, this goes back to the point of traditional finance or banks, fintechs. They're going to have these private blockchain solutions. They're going to have their own private blockchains. And even from getting those assets to the open DeFi world, you want to make sure that no bad actors can see into the private chain, that they can gain access to the private chain, that the data being transmitted between private and public chains is secure. Not that they'd have HIPAA, but PCI data, so payment card information. You don't want that information getting out. You don't want bank account numbers. You don't want all these private, game-changing information that would allow a hacker to get in and steal that money. Because again, remember, once it's in there and it's taken out, you might be able to see the trail and get to the bottom of, the story at some point in time. But once it's gone, it is hard to track down from then on, and you don't know where it's going to be moving. So the level one of cross-chain security is centralized. The most basic cross-chain solution is one where a single entity utilizes a single server that's secured by a single private key. So let's unbox that. The most basic cross-chain solution is one where a single entity, so I don't know, we're gonna say Amazon. The most basic cross-chain solution is one where Amazon uses a single server. So this means you log into Amazon and their website is only on one server. It's on one computer, right? Everyone's trying to use this one computer at one time. Now, obviously, we know that wouldn't work for Amazon with streaming, with all the data that's needed to buy and order things. That wouldn't be possible. But you can now imagine that this is why this is level one. You have a single entity that's on a single server that's secured by one thing and one thing only. It sounds like it's going to be slow. It sounds like it's very insecure, and it sounds like it's just not scaled. It's not to scale. It's not at its final state. And so this architecture, this one little bubble thing, introduces a variety of critical attack vectors, creates single points of failure, and presents conflicts of interest that put user funds at serious risk. So in that example with Amazon, imagine all of Amazon's being run on this little laptop that's standing on this little table, this little server, and everybody's trying to use this one website. You can see how that would bog down the website. So if I'm a competitor, I might want to, if I know that your website could go down, I might be waiting for an influx, I don't know, Black Friday, and okay, this is when we know they're going to go down, and we're going to capitalize on this and get more people to our website because people can't buy stuff on theirs. If there's only one point where these users or these hackers need to get in, if it's only one computer versus 20 servers, 20 different computers, they already know if once they get through the first wall, they're into your system. So this is just showing that a centralized setup, a very small and condensed setup, poses a lot of risks to a blockchain, a business, an Oracle network. And so centralized cross-chain solutions ultimately undermine the advantages that Web3 provides over existing Web2 solutions. I agree. There's new capabilities in what Web3 websites are able to provide with those attack vectors, right? And we don't need to go into depth about decentralized architecture, but the main security benefit of something like Bitcoin or Ethereum is that because no one person owns it, it's not located in one place. If one of the computers, we're just going to call them computers, one of the miners, one of the stakers, one of the computers on the Bitcoin or the Ethereum network, one of the ones that are helping drive this network along, if they vanish, if a government came in and took them away or the computer broke, you don't lose the network, right? The network stays up. Bitcoin, Ethereum, it's decentralized. It has many roots, and there's other computers on the network that can keep it up. But in a single centralized model where everything's on one server, one computer, one website, and that goes down, well, now you're SOL, right? To our previous example, if your website went down and I'm the competition, I know that's when I need to capitalize because you won't be able to help your customers and we can take those customers. And so by allowing these blockchains to be decentralized, because one of their key fundamental driving factors is that they're decentralized, that there is no master key to this whole system, by distributing the servers and all the compute and all the different computers on this network, you make those attack vectors less and less prevalent, right? It's everywhere and nowhere all at once, right? The network it gains from people adding to the system, but it also doesn't lose as much when people leave. It's actually a weird counter positive. I don't even know how to describe that word. It's like it sounds negative, but it actually helps it in a smaller, in a less negative way. Whoops. Here's a good example of that. You have a centralized server on the left, one server, one infrastructure provider, one location, one operator. You then have a distributed model where you have a wild number of servers, you have one infrastructure provider, you have a bunch of different locations and one operator. And then lastly is the fully decentralized model where it's any number of servers, infrastructures, providers, locations, operations, you name it. And so to our point earlier, when you were decentralizing this model, when you were distributing the computation over different areas, you are adding an added layer of security that a centralized model can't or won't ever have. All right, level 2, Level 2, decentralization theater. Decentralization theater is when a protocol creates the appearance of decentralization without actually being meaningfully decentralized. This often takes the form of a single entity maintaining control of 2 or more servers to give a false impression of decentralization. Excuse me. This cross-chain design is especially dangerous because it projects a false sense of security, which may lead to users relying on solutions that they normally wouldn't use if they had a full disclosure of their centralized design. It's very deep into network architecture, but high level, this is just saying that you're buying infrastructure, you're buying a platform or using servers because of your belief that whoever you're buying this service from is telling you the truth, that there's only one single entity or that there's multiple entities taking care of this process, or there's multiple layers of security when this company is telling you, hey, there's multiple layers of security, and then they are behind the scenes the only ones taking care of that security. It's theater. It's fake. And so what this is saying is that cross-chain is so dangerous because it projects this like false security that it's so easy to transfer between blockchains. And again, this kind of goes to like a fake contract masquerading as, hey, this is what's actually going on. It's decentralized, and then either they are the ones stealing or their security is so bad, so everyone's believing that they're secure, and then they get hacked because they lied about their whatever it may be. It's really emphasizing how dangerous it is to operate between blockchains with these bridge contracts and give this impression. Chainlink is trying to give this impression that their CCIP and their oracles are the solution to this security problem, to not only this bridging problem, but this data problem. One example of this can be seen in the case of multi-chain. Despite their previous assurance of decentralization, the multi-chain team revealed that the protocol's multi-party computation servers and private keys were all under the exclusive control of multi-chain CEO Zhao Jun, which were handed over to police. Without access to such items, the protocol had to shut down, and its team members were nowhere to be found. All right, that's fucked up. More recently, the Mixin network experienced an approximately 200 million exploit after a cloud service-related compromise, highlighting the dangers of cross-chain infrastructure that is centralized, that has centralization risks and single points of failure. This is a good picture of that single point of failure versus defense in depth. When you have a single point, one line that's responsible for all the work that's being done, it's very easy to break. I heard of a story once where this maybe they were a market. I don't remember what they were, but they basically were transacting with a lot of people on the blockchain. I think let's just say they're a market provider, and so people were coming to their platform to buy and trade tokens. And while people were thinking that, hey, this is a secure brokerage, this is a secure website, they're being told on the website that they use X, Y, and Z to secure the platform, and the tokens held on the platform are safe. And a few weeks later, everybody's wallets were drained because the company itself was keeping the passwords to their servers, to their wallets, in a note document, right? Just in plain text, not encrypted, not stored anywhere safe. Just like let's just say it was just called passwords, just in a passwords document on their computer. It's wild. That's not the security that you need, and that's not the security that Chainlink's claiming to provide. All right. A single decentralized network made up of independent node operators with distinct private keys is a clear step change improvement in security from level 2. However, a single monolithic network simply cannot scale to support a cross-chain economy with heavy transaction volumes, much in the way that a single blockchain is unlikely to support the whole of Web3. We've talked about this before, where there's going to be different chains for different things. Think about cars. You have different cars for different activities. A Jeep is more off-road than a Bugatti. A Bugatti is more of a sports car. Then you have sedans. You have all-purpose vehicles. You have different cars in this one category of car, but you have different car manufacturers and different types of cars for different things. This is also going to be, or how people believe. I think we're at a point now where we can all agree that it's going to be this way, but some people feel very differently, mostly about Bitcoin, that you're going to have all these different blockchains for all these different purposes. And one blockchain, Bitcoin, the Bitcoin network, can't support everything that needs to be or that can be done on blockchains. And a lot of Bitcoin maximalists, Bitcoin maxis believe is that, yeah, Bitcoin can handle all this. It can be built out in the future, which that might be true. But you also have the sticking costs of these other chains, people already on them, onboarding users, these network effects where people get on the network and they're not going to want to move to other chains. All these other applications built on Ethereum, Solana, whatever it may be. And so you're going to have this multi-chain thesis. You're going to have people on different networks. Could they all go back to Bitcoin? Theoretically, yeah, in the future, for sure. But because of how we operate as humans, that is very unlikely. And you're going to have more blockchains that pop up to serve specific niches or layer 2s to support these niches. The other concern to look out for is the decentralized network having a large dependency on a single infrastructure provider, such as a cloud service. According to Cisco intelligence company Thousand Eyes, according to Cisco network intelligence company Thousand Eyes, there were 15,000 cloud outage events in 2022 alone. That's a lot. If you're a big business or even a small business and you're storing your data on the cloud, or let's even say that it's how your HR platform runs, who knows, that 15,000 cloud outages happened in 2022. So we are very reliable, or we're very reliant on cloud by itself. But those cloud outages mainly happen because all the resources or all the servers, the compute they're constrained. There's not enough bandwidth. There's not enough throughput. There's not enough. The tube isn't big enough for all the people wanting to go pass through it, right? All the communications moving across this wire, it's not big enough. There's not enough wire. And when you have a monolithic Oracle network, just like you have a telephone network or internet network, when you have something that's constrained and there's not a lot of ways to get through that network, you have a single point of failure. You have a more condensed view because you don't have a lot going on, but there's so much trying to go through when a lot of people are on your Wi-Fi network and it's very slow. When you have one monolithic Oracle network, when you have one network, it can get bogged down very easily. But in the case of Chainlink, where they have a heterogeneous Oracle network, when you have a bunch of different networks that operate independently but can also operate with one another to pass that compute along, you can support a lot more data a lot more efficiently, and you aren't dependent on, one Oracle supporting one chain. You're not reliant on everybody using one specific Oracle or one specific chain. You've now provided this gateway across many different areas that if one gets hurt, the others can come to help, and vice versa. What's up? No, why? What's up? Okay. All right, level 4, multiple decentralized networks. Let's recap real quick. The level 1 is a centralized. Where are we at? No. All right, level 1. Level 1 of the 5 levels of cross-chain security. Level 1 was centralized. Level 2 was decentralization theater. Level 3 was one monolithic network. So centralized, we have it in one place. Decentralization theater is masquerading that you're actually decentralized when you're not. Level 3 is one monolithic network. One monolithic network being there's one place that everything takes place and it's very slow. Level 4, multiple decentralized networks. Utilizing multiple independent decentralized networks, otherwise known as DONs, Chainlink DON, so Chainlink Decentralized Oracle Networks. Utilizing multiple independent decentralized networks to underpin a cross-chain solution eliminates single points of failure and allows the network to handle greater transaction volume and deal with sudden spikes in usage. Remember, because it's so spread out. For a DON to perform a function, there needs to be a supermajority consensus among its participants. By isolating bridges as independent networks, users can customize and scale the security of each bridge. Chainlink services have been operating at level 4 security for over 3 years, successfully enabling over $8.5 trillion in transaction value. That's staggering. 8.5 trillion. However, due to the complexity of cross-chain transfers and the massive amounts secured, additional risk management techniques are necessary to establish a universal cross-chain standard that can support trillions of dollars in value flow. As we recall, talking about Swift and UBS having their initial pilot where you're able to transfer those assets cross-chain, that is more than likely using DONs because they're wanting to establish this cross-chain standard to support all of this value flow. So level 5, right? So level 5 of cross-chain security, the last level, is defense in depth. Level 5 cross-chain security achieves unprecedented levels of decentralization by utilizing multiple decentralized networks to secure a single cross-chain transaction, along with incorporating additional risk management systems to identify risks and take action to prevent them, such as by implementing emergency shutdowns or imposing rate limits. The fifth level of cross-chain security doesn't just give you one independent network for your cross-chain data or messages. It gives you multiple networks made up of independent nodes all working together to secure each bridge. While many bridge solutions operate using a single node or multiple nodes under the control of one key holder, which is what multi-chain did, the fifth level, so maybe it was, maybe it was multi-chain that did this, where they stored it in plain text and got hacked. Anyway, the fifth level of security uses multiple independent nodes with their own independent key holders and even splits them up into two separate groups of nodes, the transactional DON nodes and the risk management network nodes. One additional key feature of the separate networks in CCIP is the creation of two entirely separate implementations with two independent code bases, so that CCIP features an unprecedented level of client diversity decentralization for cross-chain interoperability. That's insane. That is one thing that Chainlink is offering that many similar networks either are just implementing or don't match the capabilities that Chainlink has. What they're saying here is that Chainlink has not only split up the network into different nodes, right, where each node is separately run, each one has their own independent key, so that if one goes out and one can't support the network, the other ones can hop in, they operate independently. If one is compromised, they're not all compromised. But then even further, what they do is they say, okay, not only do we have these separate entities, but within those entities, we've even split up the types of smart contracts, the types of nodes that are being used. We have these transactional nodes. We have the ones that are actually sending and receiving and processing the data. And then we have the risk management network of nodes, which is vetting the reliability of the data, vetting those that are trying to access the Oracle, vetting the incoming calls. The calls simply being what's the data, what's the request being sent? If I'm a node, what is the data being sent to me? And what is it asking of me? Because one way that these hackers get in is they either overload the smart contract or they give it a call that the node doesn't understand, or it breaks. It has a functionality that wasn't intended. It was a bug. And so you have the transaction, what is actually being sent back and forth on one separate network, and then the security aspect of it on another. So even if the security is poor, or someone hacks into the security network via whatever call or system that they're using, it does not impact the transaction, and there could be a fail-safe in the transaction nodes that say, hey, if this ever happens, if it's ever compromised, don't fulfill the transaction. I don't know that for certain. We haven't seen that, but that just where my mind ran with that. But you can see all these different layers of how this is breaking out, and how breaking out these these responsibilities is securing the network. With CCIP, you get multiple independent nodes run by independent key holders. Again, really big for the safety here. 3 decentralized networks all executing and verifying every bridge transaction. So you get 3 DONs all executing and verifying every bridge transaction. More security, more eyes on it. And you get the separation of responsibilities with distinct sets of nodes, of node operators, and with nodes shared between the transactional DONs and the risk management node, which is what we talked about. Increased decentralization with 2 separate code bases across 2 different implementations, written in 2 different languages to create a previously unseen diversity of software clients in the bridging world. This is another added layer of security where you have two code bases. So these different Oracle networks are coded in 2 separate codes, so that, again, if one is compromised, it's the other one's coded in a whole other language. You can't just rinse and repeat, copy and paste malicious code to this other one. And then you have a never before seen level of risk management that can be rapidly adapted to any new risks or attacks that appear for cross-chain bridging. Taking a little break here. All right, let's get back to it. We got a little bit left. Featuring a committing DON, the risk management network, and an execution DON. All right, so there's 3 networks. I apologize. The Chainlink Cross-Chain Interoperability Protocol, CCIP, is the only cross-chain solution that can provide cross-chain token CCIP is the only cross-chain solution that can provide cross-chain token transfers and messaging with complete level 5 security. Let's quickly walk through how multiple decentralized networks come together in CCIP to create a new industry standard for cross-chain security and reliability. The committing DON, this is a bit more granular, but the committing DON is basically, it's the one that's sending the CCIP messages on the source chain that are finalized by creating a Merkle tree. High level, just a decision tree and how they're going to encrypt it. Of these messages and publishing its Merkle root on the destination chain. Step 2, risk management network. Next, an independent risk management network built as an independent implementation on a different stack in a different programming language verifies the committing DON by performing the same task. If the Merkle roots match, the on-chain Merkle root gets blessed. Therefore, 2 independent networks, each with distinct sets of node ops, must commit to the messages for them to be executed. The risk management network can support additional conditions to what it sees as a risk, enabling it to rapidly adapt to new attacks and adversaries as they appear. Additional defense in depth measures of CCIP include the ability for the risk management network to trigger an emergency shutdown if it detects suspicious activity. Again, that is where it's not allowing, this risk management network is not allowing anything else to happen in the transaction if it detects suspicious activity, which is very, very good for near instantaneous transactions, because if it can sniff out nefarious activity before the transaction even commences, when that security aspect is happening, you're going to save people a lot of misplaced funds, as well as customizable rate limits on the number of tokens able to be transferred within a given time period, and a time lock contract when a quorum of CCIP node operators can veto proposed upgrades. So it's just going to give them time for CCIP holders to vote on security or different updates that they want to make to the Chainlink network. Explicitly approve on-chain configuration upgrades before they deploy. Lastly, you have the executing DON. The executing DON submits messages to the destination chain for execution, along with cryptographic proof that the messages are included in the blessed Merkle root. So you have the committing DON, which is going to take the information from the starting chain, from where we're starting out. It's going to then communicate with something in the middle, this risk management network of what's going to be sent and then received on the other side. And then you have the executing DON, which is going to make all this happen. It's just going to say, okay, give me whatever tokens you have, and I'm going to spit it out on the other side. CCIP verifies these proofs against the blessed Merkle root, basically what the first contract created. This last contract, the executing DON is going to say, okay, do I have those same numbers? And if it's successful, the messages are executed on the destination chain. The Level 5 interoperability standard for Web3 and global finance is CCIP. Only CCIP reaches the 5th level of cross-chain security using multiple levels of decentralization, which we do believe financial institutions will eventually need to safely manage quadrillions of dollars in transactions, eventually bringing the entire capital markets industry on-chain. This is from Sergey, their co-founder and CEO. This is all the Swift stuff that we've seen and talked about before. So I want to leave with this. I want to go back through the 5 levels of security. The 5 levels of cross-chain security, they show a progression and a necessity to keep blockchains secure. And so with the base level of cross-chain security, and then seeing how each subsequent level makes the one before it more obsolete, the next level is a better option. That 5th level is what every Oracle network, every blockchain network should be striving for at the security layer. And Chainlink's CCIP has shown that they're very capable of it. Level 1, level 1 of the 5 levels of cross-chain security is centralized, right? Is everything in one place? Is the server, is the computer, is the management software, is that all in one place? Is that easy to gain access to? Level 2 of cross-chain security is decentralization theater or masquerading as decentralization, making people that are using your platform think that you're decentralized when you're not actually decentralized. You could be telling people that you're using multiple other things when it's really just you. Level 3 is one monolithic network. This is one network that everything happens on, one chain that everything takes place on. And the more things that happen, the more it gets slower, the more it gets bogged down, and the less resources it has. Level 4 of the cross-chain security, of the 5 levels of cross-chain security, level 4 is multiple. Level 4 is multiple decentralized networks, where you have a bunch of these decentralized networks happening simultaneously, working on other things as well, but they can also work with each other. And it really spreads out the risk and allows for a more efficient run of the network. But then level 5 is the defense in depth. So it takes level 4. It says, okay, we're going to use this decentralized network. We're going to spread the risk out over many different oracles and make you operate in your own, in your own little sphere. But level 5 is saying, okay, everyone's going to do that, but we're going to take every security measure possible. We're going to even split it up within those little spheres. We're going to split them up and say, okay, each node in this sphere has its own responsibility. We're gonna create a node just for risk management. And so level 5 is really level 4 with extra security added to it. It's making sure that you're going through every nook and cranny, making sure that bad actors don't happen, and that everyone can send and transact without any issues occurring. And yeah, that's it. So thank you. What are we at? 47 minutes. Thank you for joining this evening or this morning. If anyone's out there, I think I got one. It might be me. I don't know. But yeah, shout out, subscribe. See you guys next time.